Sevastopol, the one the Russians have, that deal be nullified and the Russians be asked to leave the Crimea or leave their base in the Crimea, that's likely to fall on deaf ears, as the government here has for the past days been telling the Russians to leave the Crimea, and there hasn't been any reaction from Moscow.
Certainly, this country has been in it for a while with these, all of the protests that have led to this, but they're likely feeling more divided than ever at this point.
Well, it's really definitely a polarizing thing. On one side, you have the people who support the Russians, who are pro-Russia, who lean in that direction. Also, you have the other people who are pro-European. And when you have forces like the Russians coming into their country, there really is, you have to choose sides at that point. But that being said, in the East, where you do have a lot of pro-Russian leaning people, you do also have people who support the West. They're not a majority, or they're not as large in numbers as perhaps the pro-Russian, but they are still a significant part of the population. And yesterday we saw clashes between those two groups in cities across the eastern part of the country. It definitely has raised the tensions here.
And when you start to hear about military involvement, that if there could be a military response here with Russia moving in there to the south, what are the feelings on the streets? What is that doing to the tension there in Kiev, Ian?
Well, no one here in Kiev wants a war. Talking to the people on the streets, they don't want to go to war. They say they remember the tough times when Ukraine was in a war, and they said they just don't want to repeat that. They don't want any more bloodshed. They said last week's violence was enough. But at the same time, they say they're willing to defend themselves, and the government has come out with strong words last night, saying that Ukraine is prepared to defend itself. The military is at its highest alert level ever, and if the Russians evade, that will be a declaration of war, and Ukraine will sever ties with Russia.